What about the Winant murder, or the Fingers O'Toole case, or the slaughterhouse mystery? Or take Stinky Davis.
Stinky Davis?
Stinky Davis?
The Stinky Davis case illustrates what I mean about Nick.
Yes, I'm sure it does, Nora. Do you still take 2 lumps in your stinky, in your coffee?
Just imagine, 4 murders, all strangulation. No fingerprints, no clues. The police were baffled.
Yes, of course.
All they had were 4 bodies. So what did? They dumped the whole thing in Nick's lap.
I see.
Nobody suspected Stinky because he'd been a cripple ever since some nitro went off while he was cracking a canister in Salt Lake. Everybody thought it was Rainbow Benny, but Nick knew that Rainbow was an expert with the shiv. Strangling was out of his line. Oh, smart Nick. Then they turned the heat on Slasher Martin, who ran a dice joint down in Chinatown. But Slasher had an alibi with Squinty Burke and Studsy Green, so that took care of him. But all the time, Nick was certain that Stinky Davis was the killer. Why? Because he had him pegged right away for a 2-timing, double-crossing rat. Would the police listen to Nick? No. They told him it was a hophead theory, wild as loco buttons, because Stinky was a cripple and couldn't navigate. So Nick got the brush off from the police. They cold-shouldered him right out. But did that stop him? No, sir. He knew the case was hot, and he was all set to start cooking on the front burner. He said, Stinky, you're the 2-timing, double-crossing rat who strangled Nobbs McClure and Greasy Joe and Horse-Faced Dan and Denver Mike. And then he turned his back on Stinky. And the trick worked, because Stinky got up out of his wheelchair and tried to strangle Nick with a piece of wire he had hidden in his mouth. But just in time, Nick turned around, gave him the old 1, 2, and knocked Stinky colder than an ice flounder. Stinky wasn't a cripple at all. He was just using it to cover up his crimes. Now, what do you think of that?
Well, if Nick suspected that Stinky wasn't a cripple, why didn't he have him examined by a doctor? The whole thing's so silly.
Dr. Charles, you are impossible.